Let's talk about hard power and soft power when it comes to leadership. Now, first of all, what are these two things? Hard power is the power that comes from your position. So you are someone's manager, and as a result, you have an explicit power to make them do things. They have to listen to you to some degree. On the other hand, soft power comes from influence, where you are able to get people to do things because they respect you, because of your position within the organization that is parallel or orthogonal to the direct hierarchical relationship. Some people have a lot of difficulty getting people to do things through any other mechanism than hard power. The problem is that hard power really comes down to people are doing things because they have to. It is the thing that it says within the hierarchy. And the problem with that is you aren't getting buy-in purely through hard power. Sometimes all you need is compliance. Hard power will get you compliance. If you just need people to fill out their TCP reports on Friday afternoons, hard power will get that done. But when we're working in more creative fields, relying entirely on hard power, it means that you're using the people on your team as almost inanimate objects. You're not invoking their own creative spark into the process because you are ordering them to do things. And for most people, that's not a good way to engage their creative side. So for the most part, I find that it's much more effective to use soft power most of the time to get people on board through convincing them, rather than ordering them to build you a boat, making them pine for the sea, to be poetic, because this allows them to own the process of getting there. Now, to do this, you need to have soft power. And soft power comes through respect. It comes through them feeling that they are trusted and that in turn they trust you to invoke their own creativity. Some people are very good at soft power. Some people need a structure upon which to hang soft power upon, a hard power superstructure to build their soft power upon. I would say I'm probably more in that camp. For most of my career, I have had a fair amount of hard power backing up the soft power. And for the most part, the way that I've worked is I've used that hard power almost like a backstop and allowed the soft power to be something that people can sort of push into in order to feel their own breadth of creativity, in order to feel like they have ownership over things. But behind it all, there's still hard power where there's a line that they cannot cross. What some people do, especially when they are relatively new into a leadership position, is they move that hard power line really far forward. And they steal away autonomy from the people who report to them very quickly because they're worried about people making mistakes. They lack the trust of letting people do their own jobs, and as a result, they lean into hard power. Do it the way I say because I say so is something that they evoke too quickly. But like I said, the problem with doing that is, first of all, your management style is very hard, very harsh, because you aren't giving people the flexibility to express themselves, to push back. And it means that often what will happen is you disempower people and they won't push back. And when you really need them to, they've learned not to. By giving them a little bit of a cushion of soft power where you are influencing them, you are giving them that flexibility to express themselves, to broaden their horizons, to find more creative solutions to the problems you are presenting them, which is typically what you want. You want your people to be using their own skills. They're not just an extra set of hands. They are creative people that you want doing creative things. But if you jump to do it because I told you so immediately or too soon, you are taking away that creative aspect of them and turning them into just another set of hands. If you're someone who finds yourself relying a lot on hard power, on overriding other people's decisions because you say so, ask yourself why that's happening. Is it because the other person's idea is actually bad? Is it simply different than the idea that you came up with? Is it that you need compliance? Is it that you feel the need to be the person making the decision? So you have almost a subconscious requirement to be the final decision maker, a need to change things in order to be the last one to touch things. If it's that last thing, the important thing to remember is, as a leader, it's not your job to make decisions. It's your job to get things done, to get decisions made. If people are making decisions that are good enough on their own, that's amazing. You should lean into that as much as possible. Don't worry about being the person making the final call every single time. That's something that you need to learn to set aside. So like I said, I've worked in roles with a lot of hard power for most of my career, but using as much soft power as I could to give people that flexibility. Now, the roles that I'm in now, where I'm working as a consultant, I have no hard power whatsoever. Nobody reports to me. I don't plug into the hierarchy at all in a lot of cases, and so all I got is soft power. And how's that working out for me? Honestly, it's okay, but it does mean that on occasion, I have to watch as someone drives towards a cliff, and I say, "Oh no, you're driving towards a cliff, you might want to think about turning." And they're like, "No, no, no." And I'm like, "No, no, really, you're driving towards a cliff." And they're like, "No, it's fine." And then they have to drive off the cliff, because I don't have the ability of the hard power as a backstop. Like I said, for me, the best use of hard power is a backstop to stop things from happening at the last reasonable moment, to stop the catastrophe, but to give people as much flexibility as possible up to that moment. So in the roles I've been in the past, yes, I would have been able to pull people off the edge of the cliff at the last minute. These days, I have to mostly just let what happens happen and then help them recover from the other side. If you rely entirely on hard power, then you are vulnerable, because someone on your team who has a lot of soft power, who has a lot of ability to convince other people, can very easily undermine your position, can make the team go other ways, regardless of what you say. You will get obedience to the letter of what you're saying, but the person with a lot of soft power will get people's hearts, will get the ability to guide things without you. And you will find yourself isolated from the decision-making of the project. Or if you don't have such a person with soft power undermining your position, what you will find is that you have a team that is executing to the letter of the law, who has a lot of difficulty providing their own creative inputs to the process, because they've been disempowered from decision-making, because they've learned that you are going to tell them what to do any place along the way. On the other hand, if you are in a position where you are supposed to be guiding the way things are going, but all you have is soft power, you have no hard power, well, then you can have problems where sometimes you just need compliance, and you have no ability to cause compliance from people. Some people are relatively immune to soft power, or at least immune to certain styles of soft power. And you may find that there are parts of the team that you have no control over, because all you have is influence and they aren't listening to your influence. So I think it's always going to be a balancing act, where ideally the people that are on your project that you're expecting to guide the project, make decisions, move the project forward, have a combination of hard power to act as a backup when the soft power they also have fails to work. A special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member, there's a link to that down in the description. We also have a Patreon now if you're more comfortable with that. There's a merch store linked in as a shelf below this video if you're interested in picking something up. I'm currently wearing high tea on the high seas. Soft power and hard power are things that exist all over the place. What are some examples that you've seen? Have you been on a project or team where the person in charge wasn't really in charge because there was someone with soft power who was actually calling the shots? Have you worked for someone who was able to get the team to do whatever they wanted without ever having to evoke hard power? What are some techniques you've seen that really got you on board, even when things weren't super duper clear? Let me know these things down in the comments. I will see you again soon. Thank you.